The shadow of the weary heart. Truth cuts the dark like a flaming dart. Voices rising strong to lift the call. This is the time we give it all.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Lynn Scott Hagerman podcast, where truth has no filter, freedom is our mission, and light exposes the darkness. Praise God. I'm your host, Lynn Scott Hagerman, survivor of child trafficking and medical experimentation underground at a U.S.-based university medical center in conjunction with our government through MK Ultra mind control programming. I am the voice they tried to silence, and I am silent no more. Praise God. I am so not silent. Please be sure to watch my show on the Patriots Prayer Network, Tuesdays through Friday at this exact time, 2 o'clock Central, 3 o'clock Eastern, as well as Sundays on the same whatever platform that you're watching on. And tune in for more shows. So today, I am also an international award-winning human resource consultant, an independent LifeWave distributor, a marathoner, weightlifter, child of God, follower of the Lord Jesus Christ, friend of Holy Spirit, and I'm standing strong before you today in mind, body, and spirit. Please be sure to visit my websites, qgrit.org. That's the information, that's God's aftercare plan for the little ones who've been rescued from above and below ground trafficking, as well as to help adults with any type of trauma. And also please sure to visit liveyoungerwithlynn.com, where I'm an independent LifeWave distributor, where LifeWave's X39 and Celergize stem cell activation patches are the wearable med bed. Now, let's step into today's show. This is huge, folks. Today, we're going to be exposing how the FDA and Big Pharma and major universities operate as profit-driven systems that actually block real healing and real innovation. Today, I'm joined by Habib Skaff, PhD, CEO of Skin Wisdom, and Jennifer Allen, creator of the original Skin Wisdom formula for radiation burn relief. As a matter of fact, you're going to recognize Jen from the opening video. She is part of my upline at LifeWave. Praise God. So they have seen the system from the inside, and they're here to reveal why real solutions get buried and why Skin Wisdom is helping people with burns and eczema, radiation, dermatitis, scars, sun damage, and much, much more. This conversation is a conversation that the system does not want to get out, and we're going to have it today. Welcome, Jen and Habib.
Hi, how are you?
Hey, Lynn. I'm excited to have you guys here. You guys are friends. It's always wonderful to have close friends on the show.
That's right. We're excited to be on here.
Yes, yes. So we have a lot of truth telling, a lot of information to share, and a lot of amazing, in 2022, I heard the audible voice of God. And just like this, he said, I want my people healed. And he told me to look into non-invasive healing modalities. He did not say, research Big Pharma and find more drugs. He said non-invasive healing modalities. And so, that's what led me to my teas that I drink. So I'm always here drinking teas during a show. Frequencies, light therapy, led me to LifeWave, led me to Skin Wisdom. But you're here to not only talk about Skin Wisdom, but even the bigger picture, the FDA. So let's jump into today's conversation. Where would you guys like to start, with the FDA or the universities?
Let's start with the FDA. I think that's, my background really is in drug development, and, I did my doctorate in organic chemistry. And we had, so right out of grad school, I had a company where we developed nanoparticles for delivering chemotherapeutics to the tumor. And I was a big pharma guy. I thought they were doing great work. And then as you I was there for 11 years building this company and going through the FDA process. And like you said, my eyes got opened and I was like, this cannot be the right way to go forward with some of this stuff. And, as
Amen.
just like you, I've really been focused on a lot of natural products lately and really understand. And, with my own faith, it's like, you have to believe that God gave us everything we needed on this planet to heal ourselves. And I think that's
Yes.
really where my mind shifted and why I'm so happy to be with Skin Wisdom right now. But to kind of start off, I don't think people realize how big pharma developed into the behemoth that it is, right? So the FDA didn't exist until 1962. Before 1906, there was no regulation. This is the time of snake oil. You could put whatever you want in a bottle, and you had guys running from town to town selling you these miracle cures
Right.
that didn't do anything, really, probably made you sicker, to be honest with
Right.
you. Then 1906 came about, and they created the Pure Food and Drug Act. And what that did was basically it made it not legal to misrepresent what you had, but didn't do anything for safety. It just said you can't misbrand, you can't overhype stuff. So they're trying to get rid of the snake oil salesmen and things of that sort.
Yeah.
In 1938, they finally put an act forward that made pharmaceutical companies test for safety. The drug didn't have to work; it just didn't have to hurt you at that point, right? Which
Well,
is its own comedy, right?
okay. Right.
And then 1962 came about, where you have the establishment of the FDA now, where you have to show safety as well as efficacy. And the way that that efficacy has been kind of bastardized, I guess, in some form, is not only does you have to show that it works, it has to work better than anything else that's out there currently, and it has got to be safer than everything out there. And those are huge bars, right?
Right.
So if we go back and look at, when these big Pfizer, Roche, Merck, all these companies were established were in the 1800s. So they had 50 to 100 years of unchecked revenue, basically, where they could sell you anything they wanted and just build up this huge cash reserve, get a bunch of products in their pipeline without even having to answer to anybody, which now is a really nice advantage, right? Like you mentioned, you're a marathon runner, right? It's like,
Yeah.
well, us running a marathon, and I'll start on mile 20 and you start on mile 0. And we'll see who wins. We'll see who wins at the end of this race, right?
Well, mile 20 is still good.
Yeah, mile 20 is good. I get
Mile
20
20 is
mile head
still
start
good.
on you guys. And it's like, let's make that's not a fair way to run a race, right? I can't get a 20
Sure.
mile head start on a 26-mile race. So
Sure.
that is really kind of the history of how all of big pharma got started and how it really cemented itself as blocking innovation in some form. And we have to understand that, like, when we're talking about drug development, the smaller firms are really going after those rare diseases, orphan indications, stuff that aren't huge markets, but would make a huge improvement in people's lives.
Yeah.
Big pharma loves blockbusters. We want the Lipitors, the people, we get like 80% of the people on these drugs and keep them sick, and just treating the little bit of the benefit, right? We don't
Thank
cure
you.
disease. We cure symptoms. We don't cure diseases in this country. And that, I think, is a fundamental problem in how we operate and how we've allowed these big companies to operate.
Yes. I mean, I love when you say that, Habib, because it's just so nice when other people say what I know everyone out there listening thinks.
Yeah.
They stop the symptoms. That's why whenever we go to the unhealthcare system, they ask, what are your symptoms?
Right.
And we tell them, thinking that this is a help. But what's actually happening is they're looking at the drugs that impact the symptoms, so
Right.
we're all quiet and unhealthy. We remain unhealthy, and then they can check the box and move on. And I'm appalled at our system, just appalled.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that, because they are treating just the symptoms. And what that does is basically takes a disease or an illness that could be acute and cured, and makes it into a chronic disease that you have to buy the drugs indefinitely. If you're
Yes,
looking at diabetes, is a great one, right? Like metformin, you take for the rest of your life until you get resistant to it, and you never really get cured of your diabetes. You just keep treating the symptoms, and that's how it goes. So it's
so
a
I didn't realize that you can get resistant to the drugs. Do people know once
absolutely.
they're on
Oh yeah,
big pharma, they get
absolutely.
resistant, and then
Yeah,
do they
absolutely.
subscribe more, or how does that work?
So the typical method is you'll get prescribed a drug. Then they'll keep increasing the doses. Metformin, they'll start you off at like, 500 milligrams, and you go up to 1,000, then 1,500 milligrams until it doesn't work anymore. Then they'll switch you on to something else, something that increases insulin production in your pancreas, or one of those GLP-1 drugs that are very popular now to be honest with you, like I know a lot of people on that, and I'm just waiting for the shoe to drop on that thing, because I'm a firm believer that there's nothing for free in this world. So if you're going to get all these benefits, there's always going to be some other shoe that falls. I have no proof that's going to happen, but that's my gut feeling on kind of how a lot of these drugs work, right? So they just keep rotating you between these different drugs that they've all developed together almost to keep you on indefinitely without, ever really curing you of the disease.
Well, and then of course, every drug has a list of side effects or potential problems.
Yeah.
And, I'll talk about this in the spiritual realm. Spiritually, it's like a contract. Once you take that medicine, it's agreeing to these horrific side effects. And we, the people, have been so brainwashed through MK Ultra to just ignore the fact that the side effects could kill you. Oh, thank you, I'll take it anyway. That is brainwashing. That is trust the white coat brainwashing. And then you've got people on like 10 medications, getting worse and worse, not understanding why, because we've been taught, brainwashed, trust the white coat. And that's not quite accurate. So I'm going to hop in real quick, give a shout out. We've got C Spiker out there in the chat. Hello to you too. I think you're driving home from work now, so it's good to see you. We have Lady A sending us a woohoo. Thanks, you guys. Thank everybody. We have Marla. Thank you, Lady A, reposting. We have JJR raiding the room and bringing the outlaw dogs with him. God bless you all. We have so many names. God bless everybody for being with us. I know that you love hearing the show. You love the guests, and everyone's been excited to have both of you come on. And I love your insight on this big pharma, Habib. I mean, that's amazing. This is a view we don't normally get.
Yeah, it's funny, and I want to kind of touch on the side effect that you mentioned, because it hits home with me.
Yeah.
When I was running my first company, I had a very, very, probably the smartest guy I ever met, by the name of Dr. Dressler, who was on my board. And I remember he came into a board meeting once, and he had just been prescribed, I think, a Vioxx or one of those COX-2 inhibitors. And he pulls it out, and he pulls out the sheet with all the side effects on. He goes, "Will you look at this?" He goes, "I got a little arthritis, and they're gonna tell me he's like making a joke. My nose is gonna fall off. I might keel over. My arm's gonna rot. Like all these side effects."
Yeah.
And to point out, it's not really, I know you approach it from a spiritual setting, but it's also contractual. Like when you take those drugs and they tell you what the side effects are, you're agreeing. You can't sue because they told you what's on there. And who reads? I mean, it's so small you can't even read it. So I mean, there are a lot of games that are being played here to get people to be, like you said, brainwashed and serve the purpose of the corporations.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So when you think of big pharma, what are some other lessons that you learned while you were active in that industry?
That's a great question. I learned they've set up the game, which is the FDA approval process, into their benefit, really. So we have, let me just take a minute and tell you how the process actually works. I don't think a lot of people really understand how it works. So a drug tip starts off preclinical, which means it's before it's in humans, it's in animal testing and things of that sort. And you'll spend millions of dollars doing that part of the process. Once you have a drug you think is going to work, you then have to go into what's called large animal toxicology, where you test on rabbits, dogs, whatever the indication is, usually dogs at the end. Then you have to go into CGMP manufacturing. CGMP manufacturing is its own little process where it's not even watching someone make your drug. Someone stands behind them and checks off everything as they go through it. So we've now tripled the cost of what it costs to make this drug in a manufacturing setting. Then you got to go and file your IND, which is a new drug application, or NDA, sorry. IND, a new drug application for your drug. Then you're looking at anywhere from 10 million in your phase 1 trials up to about 200 to 500 million for your phase 3 trials. All in, you're looking at $1 billion to $2 billion. Granted, there's some wiggle room in there, but think about a small company that's raised, let's say I did well. I raised $30-40 million from my company, right? Which is literally a drop in the bucket for what we're doing here, right? So we get these small companies, they don't have the money from revenue. They don't have money from past where you were able to do whatever you wanted and build up these huge amounts of cash hoards to
Yeah.
push the process through, right? So you're at a disadvantage. You have to sell part of your own company to raise the money through VCs or the public markets
Yeah.
to get a drug through. That gets you one bite at the apple. If you fail, even though your data is good, I've had seen companies with amazing data that failed because they missed one of the benchmarks or whatever it happens to be. Then you get bought by big pharma at a discount. And it's a beautiful way for them to get their pipelines all nice and pretty, add drugs in without having to spend the money to develop those drugs. And they'll buy you at a discount. So if you spend 100 million, maybe they'll buy you for 50. And your investor will take it just to recoup their costs. But it's just the game is set up for that, right? Another example, and interrupt me if you have any questions about it, is there's
No, I just want to say, what a scam.
yeah.
Okay, now
Yeah, no,
proceed.
it's a scam. No, it's a process is a
What a
scam.
scam.
And there's the other part of it besides the money part, which is a huge aspect of developing a drug, is the time it takes to do it. You're looking at 10 to 15 years to develop a drug from start to end, right? That's a long time, and it's a long time for investors to wait to get their money out in a deal like that.
Yeah.
A typical small pharma or startup has 2 to 4 years worth of runway. So the amount of time it has before it runs out of cash and can't do anything. That happens to perfectly overlap between a phase 2 and a phase 3 trial, and they call it the valley of death. And that's where you can't get any more money unless you partner with pharma, where they'll get you, well, they'll get the drug from you anyway, or you can try to push through. And if anything happens that's slightly off kilter, even if it doesn't really affect the efficacy of the drug, they're going to swoop in and buy you. So the amount of time it takes to develop it is a problem. And the disadvantage, and if you want to hear the real scam, there's something called PDUFA, which is a act that a company can pay for accelerated review. And what that means is they pay the FDA to hire more people to specifically review their drug to move it to the front of the line. Now, as a small company, I can't pay for that, but they can, right? So then they jump the line ahead of me while I'm still in the back trying to go through the normal process. And they can cut that down by what, 2 to 4 years. That does a couple of things. One, that gets ahead of the smaller companies in terms of launch, but also gives another 4 years of revenue before their patents run out. I think that one, I lost my mind when I learned about PDUFA. PDUFA was the wake up moment for me. I was like, well, you can just pay, and if you have a lot of money, you can just buy your way through the FDA process.
I just, I'm learning so much. I'm absolutely appalled at this. When I think about the FDA, so I'd like our audience to be aware. I believe most of my audience is very awake and aware that our three-letter government agencies are for-profit corporations.
Yes.
So they are not government organizations. They act like they are, but they're for-profit corporations, which is why anyone who's against, and they make their money from big pharma, which is why anyone who is against what they're doing gets squashed because the FDA can't make a profit. With the recent vax that we are all very much focused on, I believe it was 50 of the managers were getting kickbacks on that. They get paid royalties for the vaxes.
Yeah.
Maybe it's 250. It was enough just to know that the management at the FDA gets kickbacks for the vaccines. I think speaks volumes and speaks all. But to hire employees, my day job, I'm an international human resource consultant. So if there's someone who's paying the salaries of employees, then guess who the employees are loyal to?
100% agree with you.
And if those are the same employees that are supposed to be approving or not approving or whatever, I mean, there's definitely, I would think, some bias there. It's appalling.
Absolutely.
It's appalling, guys. I'm just
I'll,
shocking. I'm shocked.
I'll give you a bigger issue than what you're even bringing up. So FDA people that working at the FDA, God bless them, they're very smart. They know they know what they're doing, and they're locked into this whole structure that they can't get out of sometimes.
Yeah.
But they don't make that much money. Where do you think they go to make a lot of money once they're done with the FDA?
They go into big pharma.
They go to big pharma. So if you want to get a great job at big pharma, do you think it's to your benefit to do well by big pharma while you're at the FDA?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That's the one that rocked me. That you know what I can there, and I'm not saying there's any sort of direct bribery. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying that if I help you through the FDA process, which is my job at the FDA, I might get a better job when I leave the FDA.
Oh
And
yeah.
that's the other part of the big pharma, right? Like I can't afford as a small company to hire a full-time clinical development team. So we hire part-time CMOs, chief medical officers. They have all those guys internal inside, and they're all ex-FDA guys. They wrote the rules. So it's very similar. I don't know if you guys are familiar with how GE, the big corporation, doesn't pay tax. I mean, they make billions dollars, they don't pay tax. The reason is their tax their tax department is made up of all the old IRS guys that wrote the rules that they were supposed to follow, and they basically they figure out, they wrote the rules, they know how to get around the rules, and that's why big corporations like that doesn't pay tax. Their tax department, I believe, it rivals the size of the IRS.
That's amazing. I love these reveals. I mean, you guys are awesome. This is like one after the other. No, I did not know that, Habib.
Yeah.
And that shocks me. As a matter of fact, that one hits home. I'll be glad whenever all of our taxes are refunded. I had to deal with the real estate. We're all dealing with the real estate, the property tax, and we all know one day we're going to get all that back. But until we do, it's painful to pay. And then to think that they have all these workarounds to where they don't, I guess it's not surprising. And I'll tell you, so this FDA going to work for Big Pharma. So I'm in Missouri, and on the ballot a couple years ago, 4 years ago, maybe, they were trying to, they put on the ballot medical marijuana. So I had, as a day job, international human resource consultant, I had a big group of judges in the state and attorneys and medical physicians, and they wanted to get the licenses to be able to sell the medical marijuana. And so I was doing the HR end of all of their applications for it, which most of them were able to get that when that passed. But anyway, they were teaching me about Big Pharma. And what they said was that what happens is it goes both ways. So employees in Big Pharma go to the FDA and they work when Big Pharma wants to put a drug through. And so then these Big Pharma people are in the FDA, they approve the drug, and then they go back to Big Pharma and they start selling the drug. So they're completely embedded back and forth with each other. Which is why it's very hard to get natural healing out at all.
Well, I'll tell you the major issue with natural healing, and it's actually much simpler in terms of why it doesn't get done by Big Pharma, is that you can't put a patent on it. I can't take a product that's been around for a long time. Look, aloe vera is probably one of the greatest things you can do for your skin. You can't patent aloe vera anymore. It's been in the public domain for too long. Yeah. Nobody goes actually beyond Big Pharma. Big Pharma won't you can't patent it, so they can't develop it because they don't get exclusivity because of the lack of patents. But also, if you're a small company, you can't get funding for a drug that isn't patented already. So the fact, and it's almost, and this goes back to, and you and I have had this discussion about J.D. Rockefeller and his big push into medical schools, where he was basically pushing drugs that are derived from petroleum. I mean, I don't say that we're putting oil in, just almost all chemistry is derived from petroleum. That's the starting material that goes to all the chemicals that we use every day, right? Yes. Plastics, medicines, all that stuff. But once that happened and the medical schools got pushed into synthetic molecules for treatment of disease, we lost all the power and all of the motivation to go after natural products. And the reason being is the patents. You can patent those drugs. You cannot patent a natural product like that. And I'll give you another example. The way around that, sorry to interrupt you, but the way around that is there's a drug called Taxol that was discovered at FSU. That's probably one of the most widely used chemotherapeutics back in the day. It is a derivative of a natural product. So they found a natural product that worked. You couldn't patent that. Let's add a couple little little carbons here or a hydroxyl group here, and now you can patent that drug, and then you can push that forward. Yeah, the games are endless.
in other words, the healthcare system is not about our health.
Absolutely not. No, and anyone that says that is being naive about how the process works.
I have more and more people, and it's not just, so the Lord spoke audibly to me about, he wants his people healed with, he said natural, non-invasive healing modalities. And he was very specific about that. And I'm not the only one he's been talking to. Clearly, people like yourselves who are more into the natural healing areas. And there are all kinds of people that I have seen the Lord tap on the shoulder and ask to start creating inventions that will help we the people and get us out of this unhealthy big pharma model. I was talking to someone the other night, and he'd spent a lot of time in Europe, and he said, Lynn, he said, do you know how sickly Americans look when they're in Europe? Well, I've never been to Europe. And I said, no. And he said,
Yeah.
oh, he said, we look pasty, we look gray. He said, we look fat in ways that don't even look like normal fat. And he said,
Wow.
people in Europe, they do not. And, and I hear anyone who goes to Europe that have like gluten intolerances in the United States can eat bread in Europe because it has
Absolutely.
nothing to do. It's all these, they give us food. I'm going to put in air quotes. They give us food and it's a bunch of processed chemicals, even bread. Bread isn't food that you buy in the grocery store. I'm hard pressed to find anything in a regular grocery store that is actual food because GMO is Roundup. It's not
Yep.
food either. So we're in trouble.
I agree with you 100%. And it's something that I've given a lot of thought to lately in terms of buying a piece of land and having my own fruits and vegetables and things of that sort from the heirloom, the heirloom varieties that haven't been modified with GMO. I mean, if we could go down that rabbit hole all day long if you want. I mean, the Roundup and how it works and how really toxic it is, but you're forced to do it. And all these, I mean, I'll go into a little bit. Monsanto's is a big provider of seeds. Yeah. They are probably the number one, and they've created these types of corn that are resistant to pests and all that stuff. But they have made them so that you can't replant the seed again. So if I buy corn from you,
Mm,
from Monsanto, that's
yeah.
genetically engineered, that so I can, get a higher yield and plant them closer together and not be worried about insects or pestilence or whatever coming through, I can do that. But those seeds don't regrow. I can't harvest my own seeds from the corn that I grew that I paid for because they're controlling it. And there was one time, there was I think there's the big one was the genetically modified wheat where you could use Roundup to kill everything around it, but it wouldn't kill the wheat, right? The guy was planting the seeds. Some of them blew onto his neighbor's farm. It grew by accident. He didn't try to put it on there, and then he got sued for breach of patents for infringing on the patents, even though he didn't plant the seed himself, but it grew on his land. That made me lose my mind.
That's so ridiculous. And I know back in the day, I can remember my great great grandmother. That's what they had a stalk of corn and they
Yep.
planted the seeds those were the seeds from the corn.
Yep.
That's God given nature. And
Mhm.
now I mean, that speaks volumes. I
Yep.
had no idea. But if you
Yep.
can't plant a
Mhm.
seed, I'm gonna put seed in air quote too,
Yeah.
because it's not a seed,
It's
you
a
know.
frankenseed. We call them frankenseeds.
I like that word. So you're right. I'm digressing as, I find this whole topic just, fascinating. And one major thing that I like to do with my audience is, and I know that they're very awake and very aware, but as much as I can bring, God has me on a mission. I mean, he told me, I want my people healed. He told me to look into this, and then he gave me a voice to be able to share it. So I want people to understand, because I think first they need to understand how we've been lied to being in the matrix, and how they call it health, they call it food and it's not. They call it health care and it's not. So we need to be aware of how things work behind the scenes so we can
Yeah.
each make our best decisions for our health and the health of our families, and especially the health of the little ones who are always near and dear to my
Absolutely.
heart all the time. So I appreciate you sharing all of your knowledge and expertise.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's near to my heart. I mean, I have a 10 and 12-year-old, so I'm very sensitive to the subject as well in terms of what they eat and where it comes from and how to, how they get treated when they do have, the flu or whatever it happens to be. I mean, it goes back a lot, like you said, to brainwashing, but one of the strongest ways to brainwash people is through lobbying, right? So they have all this money to lobby Congress and have these big marketing campaigns, and you get, blasted with all these like, ads and we're the only country that I know of where a pharmaceutical company can advertise. You can't do that in Europe. You can't advertise drugs
Oh,
in
I
Europe.
didn't know that.
Yeah, you
Okay.
can't do that. You can't. But this funny thing is, it's not that they had, tobacco was used to advertise on television until we made it so they couldn't. And now, for some reason, we're still allowing pharmaceutical companies to do it. And I don't think there's any upside other than for them to be like, you as a baby, like, oh, I heard about this drug. Will it help me? And that is the one reason I think what GLP-1s, those weight loss drugs, have really taken off because, I mean, I'm watching Hulu or whatever, and I get bombarded with those advertisements. Apparently, Hulu thinks I need to lose a few pounds, so I've been targeted for that.
I, yeah, no, I understand that with the advertising, and that's so much everywhere. These pop-up ads when we're on our phones and streaming online for all of these unhealth care products. We see it, with the news. We see it everywhere, and they're always advertising. And it used to be small print. Now it's normal
Yeah,
print. This could, kill you. But uh, so, I know today part of our topic too. I want to share about Skin Wisdom because I personally use the product and absolutely love it. But probably 2 or 3 years ago, I had a rash and it was really mild. Just, you get rashes, whatever reason. I don't even know why. I happened to be at the doctor for something. Can't even remember why, maybe an annual checkup. And I mentioned the rash or he saw the rash and well, he goes, I've got a great product for that. And that was before, I was fully awake to the and healthcare big pharma system. And so I said, sure. And so I went to go fill it. And when you fill a prescription now, there must be some law that says the pharmacist has to see if you have any questions. I don't know.
right.
Maybe it's just what they do. But this time, I didn't have any questions. But the guy at the checkout says the pharmacist wants to talk to you. And I thought, what? So she goes, are you aware that if you put this on your skin one time, that your skin will instantly thin out and it'll be permanently thin for the rest
Oh
of
my
your life.
God.
I said, what? I
Yeah,
have a little rash. And she's like, well, there you go. And I just what we're being sold is a bill of goods. I mean, snake oil before, it's worse than snake oil now. It's
absolutely.
very, very, very harmful to us.
Yeah.
And you were talking about the small businesses and the patents, and that makes me think about because we've had some conversations, offline about universities and patents. And I was reading something on X. I think President Trump actually posted it maybe a couple months ago, and he did. He said, why is it that we, the people, our tax dollars pay universities to research and develop new products, and then the universities get the patents and all the money from it? And
Yep.
he just posed the question. I never heard of that, never thought of it, but I thought that's a darn good question.
That
What?
is a very good question, and it is a thing that I saw quite a bit when I was still in the biotech space, where a universe and this sorry, by the way, so this really comes from initially where it came from was the West Coast, the UCLA's, the Berkeleys, the Stanfords, where they were doing amazing work with electronics and the internet and all this stuff, and they were licensing out the technology. Other companies, other universities saw that and like, well, we would like a piece of that, a little piece of that action as well. So I'll give you, so again, you're right. The way typically the majority of grants that come into universities come from the federal government. There are some other ones that don't do, they come from private industries, but the majority by far. And the DoD is probably the bigger one. DoD, the DOE, all those guys, they are the largest probably funders, and the National Institute of Health, of university grants. Then they get the grants, they do the amazing research. We can't really knock the research. They do amazing research, and then they patent what they've developed. And it is and then they go and they license it out to other. I mean, I was approached by many universities to license their technology. We passed on most of them. I mean, we didn't really like it, but they are trying to monetize that. And again, it goes back to what we talked about at the beginning, where there's an unfair advantage, right? So I'm a small biotech company. I've got to raise money to, by selling shares, doing whatever, giving up a piece of my ownership to get this funding. Universities don't, but they're still monetizing it in the same way as a corporation would. And at the very least, I should say, I don't think it's unfair to ask, that at least the original grant be returned, right? If I gave you $1 million grant and you develop a drug that ended up being a blockbuster, is doing $1 billion, and you're getting, let's say, 1%, 10 million a year, I don't think it's unreasonable for the government to get back. If it goes nowhere, you don't pay it back. But if it goes somewhere, pay it back so that someone else can take advantage of that money as well. At this point, the money goes into a black hole and never comes back out. But a lot of other money falls behind it based on the work that was done with that grant. So I agree with that. Is a very good question to ask. And I don't think enough people ask that question about why don't they have to at least return? It's almost like if I staked you to play poker, you won, you took everything. At least give me back the stake.
Yes. Oh, that's a
Yes.
good analogy.
Yeah.
And haven't Jen, didn't you have experience with someone with the university or big pharma and some of your products along the way trying to interfere and tell me about that.
So, well, we've had quite a few experiences over the years, but I was listening to Habib. He's been with us for what, 12 years now, at least when your child
as an
was,
investor. Yeah.
as an investor. But I didn't know till today, how much the billions of dollars, the billions, because I just kept plugging along thinking I was just, and I raised 2.2 million over the years to go through the FDA. I didn't have any idea till today that it costs a lot more than that. But anyway, God brought me some miracles along the way. And because you're a miracle person, Lynn, and our team, I was at a high school reunion right after Dr. Bill we'd patented the ingredients for the silicone, elenocone. And a friend of mine, I said, Larry, what are you doing these days? Oh, I work for Mentor. I'm a silicone specialist. I go, we can't talk until I have an NDA from you because, right? Well, it gets better. So Larry and I had been friends for years. And so he said, yeah, I'm in California, but I'm moving to New Jersey. I said, well, I know because I know Mentor is being bought out by J&J, and we've been talking to J&J. I knew all this. So then he and I started talking with Bill, and he wrote a paper for us that we still use today to present to the FDA for free because he's a friend. And he said, I want you to get this. He loved the product. He tested it and loved it. So then we got a call from J&J and from Larry, and they were going to do a $250,000 study of our product. Great.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it was like 10 years ago, they let 5,000 people go. So they said, oh, we don't have the money to do that. And these things have happened along the way. And I'm very glad it didn't happen, because if J&J had gotten all of our stuff, it would have been put on a shelf and it would never have come out. So then we had the thing that has frustrated all of us.
Sorry, can I interrupt you on that?
Yeah,
Because that's
sure.
the important part what she said. This happens a lot in big pharma. They'll buy up small companies' technology that may compete with a drug you don't know they have in development and put it on the shelf so that it doesn't compete with them going forward. So I think I want to point that out, that was a very smart move, but it also that this is a very popular tactic that's used in not just pharmaceutical, just with big corporations where they have the money to buy you out. You say, oh, relief, I got money. And then it never goes anywhere. So sorry to interrupt. But
No, we did. So we followed the process through, and we had to have 5,000 bottles of rescue spray created to go to the FDA to be tested. We've done everything. I mean, I've still got the file. He's got it, so we could use it. But anyway, so we were going to go forward. We do the 5,000 bottles with a company that I just talked to him about it. I trusted them. I'd been working with them for 10 years, and they were manufacturing for us, and it was wonderful. Well, a younger person came in and took over the company. The company does manufacture a lot of scar revision stuff and, competitive stuff, right? Yeah. And our product, elenocone, gets rid of scar. It does a lot, scars disappear, a lot of stuff. So anyway, I didn't think anything of it. They do the 5,000 bottles. You have to hold those bottles for 6 months, then they test it. And in the 9th month, you can present it to the FDA. 5,000, right? Wow. So 6 months we're waiting. And all of a sudden, this company that I had manufacture had talked me into putting a woman on my board of directors who had a PhD, and she'd gotten stuff through the FDA. She was going to be perfect, but she's the only one that was not an investor in our company. I should have known, but I didn't get it. I'm
Yeah,
naive. I love everybody, and it's part of my
I know you
problem.
do.
Thank God I have people that see the other side of stuff.
Well, I've just
Habib
been
and my
burned by the
kids.
other side enough times.
Yeah, he does, so he can see it. But and I have other people, my relatives, that can see that. But so what happened? She comes to the board. She says, well, they've tested it and you can't take it to the FDA. I go, what are you talking about? We can't take our spray to the FDA? Nope. It's the product has white particles dropping out. And Lynn, I've got this. This is my Elenocone in 20 years. Nothing has ever dropped out. This is 20 years old. This is
Wow.
pure Elenocone.
Yeah.
What's
Okay.
a linicome? What's
That's our silicone that was named after my mother because she invested to try to help people with radiation burns.
Yeah.
And
I
so
was
it's
gonna
called
say, what does
Allen
it do?
Elenocone.
Yeah,
Huh?
what does that do? A linicone
Well,
do? I've never heard
yeah,
the
so
word.
it's actually an amazing molecule. So what it does is when it's sprayed on in very low like 1% is a lot, to be honest with you, by weight. We spray it on the wound or whatever you're applying it to the skin, and it forms what I would call a monolayer, like almost like a very thin barrier on the skin itself. But it lets oxygen and CO2 to go through, so it's semi-permeable. And because it likes water as well as as fats, it spreads the water across the wound evenly. And what that does is if the water pools in a wound, that's when you get all these infections and fouling and gangrene. All these nasty things happen because part of
Okay.
the wound is wet, some of the part of the wound is wet, dry. And what this does, it gives a very even layer across of it. And because it forms this barrier, any active you put in there, so aloe vera, sunscreen, whatever you're putting in, stays in contact with your skin longer, giving you better efficacy from that. So it's a way of protecting your skin, but also giving the actives more chance to work before they come off.
Oh,
And
thank you.
what I like to say, when you spray it on, because it's a silicone and it's silicone and oxygen, bacteria hate oxygen and they run away. So they've disappeared. They don't stay on a wound because they hate the oxygen that you're just spraying on. And the dream had been, and Dr. Bill had been a burn specialist. He is a plastic surgeon. And his dream was that you don't have to slather something on, or think of breast cancer, the stuff they slather on. There's still, to this very day, is no spray for burns. Why? We've been around for 20 years. National Cancer Institute has tested us. We know it works. Now, blockages. So what happened is this woman came to us and said, there's something dropping out. It's not
Yeah.
stable. It's not stable.
Yeah.
So I remember Habib was there. We were all screaming and yelling at her. We were what are you talking about?
Right.
So then she said, well, take it over to this other company. They'll do it again. Or manufacture another batch. And when we did, there was a very honest chemist at that company who was let go after she found out what was wrong. She said to us, well, they put 250 times the amount of aloe into your product than you asked for. They could, just by a simple test, she could see that. So aloe was dropping out. We didn't know it. We just had enough that it stayed stable. So that happened. So we go to this other company. We're going to manufacture there in another city. And this woman gets let go from her job. I should have known. And also, they remanufacture. She comes. So then the same person on our board says, Jennifer, I've checked with them. It's not stable. I tried to tell you your product's not stable. We're going, it is stable. And here we go. So another yelling match. You remember those from our board? We were like, ah. So then miracle. This is why I want to tell you, God has guided it always.
Amen.
So Dr. Bill's at his office, plastic surgeon. He has a woman there and he's going, I can't believe it. They've now said we're not stable again. She goes, my brother is a chemist in Ohio or something. He was a professor. She says he loves to find out what goes wrong with the manufacturing process. And because it's out of your pocket, he'll do it for free. And so, so the product was sent to the brother, who the scientist calls Dr. Bill and said, you're not going to believe this, but I know immediately what they did. And he's, what would they do? They washed the beakers that we manufacture in with tap water. And if you use tap water, there's metal that falls out.
Well, I didn't know that. And I'm a human resource consultant, so sounds like sabotage to me. I'm going Trutherville.
It must be, because, by the way, can I tell you, as a chemist, no one ever in the history of any chemist I know of would wash their beaker without using deionized water. It's an impossibility. an impossibility. So I that's where my head blew up right there. I
Yeah.
lost my mind at that point.
So we've waited another couple years, and now we've got I've got someone I really trust, and I went to him, and now Habib's working full time with him. He's a scientist, but he manufactured for Estee Lauder and the biggies in New York, and I've known him for 20 years because we used to go up there and visit, Fabergé, Estee Lauder, all of them.
Yeah.
And he loves our product, and he says it's a $1 billion product. He's going to manufacture for us in Orlando, which is fantastic. And then he says, I'll move to Tampa for you. I'll build a new building for you when it happens, when it explodes. But meanwhile, we're on our third try now to gently go through with our own, not the billions, but just doing it
Right.
truth-wise.
So then with the third try, I mean, what have you learned along the way then? Because you've been sharing stories about this whole process. What's wrong
My
with
lesson is don't trust anybody in the industry. I
it?
mean, trust
Bottom
but
line is
verify.
no trust.
Probably maybe maybe I can be kinder and say trust but verify. But listen, I think, and it's not unique, and this is maybe me being cynical as I get older, but
That's okay. Keep talking.
I think when you get to a business sector where there are billions of dollars at risk or the potential to make billions of dollars, there's always going to be some people that are going to try to take advantage of that situation. And I think that's the lesson for me, just to be super careful. We have a very, very close-knit network that we deal with. We don't go out anymore and just talk about it. We are very focused on, we're going to market it for this. These are the only people we trust to work with it. I'm, as I have a lot of background in this, so now I can smell who's trying to take advantage of it. I mean, to be honest, there was advantage being taken, for people that, that are phenomenal therapists and salespeople, but don't understand organic chemistry and manufacturing skill. That's, and for me to see someone manufacture something and not exactly follow a standard operating procedure, which is how all manufacturing goes, is, like you said, sounds a lot like sabotage to me. That's how I'll end that comment before I get in trouble any further than what I said.
Yeah, I mean, that's how it sounded to me too, because that's just like, I figure if I know, and I'm a human resource consultant, know nothing about, then they would have had to have known. So I'm so grateful that things are moving along, and I love inspiration stories. And so, Jim, will you share, please, how what inspired the creation of Skin Wisdom to begin with?
So I was married to a plastic surgeon, and he had always wanted to have a spray for burns because it was very important for him to be able. He had worked through the fires in Tampa. We had a fire in a restaurant in Tampa. They had to dip the people in vats of silicone that were very slippery. It was a mess, and people died, in a lot of pain. And so it was Bill's dream to have a spray that we could do. And he had been working with another friend trying to create that, but the person had put a whole bunch of additives in it, and we're into all natural. It wasn't a healthy thing either. It did work, the spray worked, but it wasn't as good. And so my mother, who had had cancer at the base of her tongue and radiation, and I said, okay, we're going to invest in this. And Bill did not want to, because he's a doctor and he didn't want to have the conflict of interest. So he really said, I don't, And so the two of us invested, and we worked with some really good people. We were sort of this another God thing. A friend of mine introduced us to Walter Danlicker, who was head of Scripps Clinic's biochemistry. And then Fred Runnels, who had owned a company that had an aloe-based skincare line that went nationwide, sort of like Mary Kay, but 50 years earlier. And so Fred and Walter adopted Bill and me. They really did. And I used to fly to La Jolla and go out there, and Walter would test it. And so they worked with us day by day, and all of us were doing it for free. I mean, that's the other thing. There were people just devoted. And so Fred did manufacture in his plant in SeaTech, Washington. He did some of our first runs of Skin Wisdom, which were in the blue bottle. And we used those. He referred to my background being a therapist. I'm a cancer therapist, and I ran a support group, which I just this year retired from after 26 years. And I would give any bottles away to anybody in the group because I wasn't going to sell, but anyway, it helped a lot of people over the years, especially with breast cancer and all the other cancers. They could spray it, and that's a true story. So I'm not trying to claim anything, but it stopped the burn. So I got a call one day, God thing again, from the National Cancer Institute saying, we
Wow.
want your blue bottle. Can we test it? And I go, where are you? In the United States, Bill and I both. So she said, well, we're at USF over in Tampa. And I went, I'm in Tampa. So I got my car and drove it over,
Yeah.
and there was a wonderful nurse that was head of all it's called CCOP, the cancer study. They'd get everybody together and study different products. And she said, this could be the standard of care worldwide, no question, for cancer, because there is no spray. And Lynn, there still isn't. So she wanted it out there. We presented at some very big cancer conferences, got
Wow.
all set to do it. And that's when we got jinxed twice. But we still have the product, and we have remanufactured, which is the product you guys are buying today, because that was our friend from New York and Estee Lauder that is doing the product there. So I don't know if that helps a little bit, but again, God things all along the way. Totally.
Oh, yeah. I want to show folks too what we're talking about when we're saying spray, because this is my personal bottle. So I get it's just a spray, and it comes in. I'm almost out, so this is the box that it comes in. But I use this. I mean, like just people ask me all the time, about my skin. Yours too, Jen. And I'm telling you, So it's not just which it just blesses my heart to no end to hear the story of how this came to be, how it can truly help people going through such a horrific time in their life, helping ease the pain. It reminds me of whenever I was little. Anything that I could do to ease the pain of someone else is always, near and dear to the Lord's heart. So that's super important. But look at our skin, Jen.
And I'm 78. I always let everybody, I've been using it twice a day. So there is another product we use, and everybody's going, oh, you look so young. Well, I've been using Skin Wisdom for 20 years. I want to say Habib and Robert and Jonathan, who are also on our board, have taken our product and they're going to go in a whole big direction with it. So I'm very excited about the way we're going to go forward. But our dream was the National Cancer Institute and standard of care. And also because we were blocked, there still the dream has not stopped. And they were going to do a nationwide study, and it was stopped 20 years ago. At the same time, another product was stopped that was supposed to go to the Navy SEALs. Exactly. And from Scripps Clinic, we were both involved there. So it's sort of interesting. There's parallel, along the way. I should turn it back to you because you're the.
Well, you've got a shout out. We have JJR. This is a quote. Wait, 78 years old? No way. No way. Amazing.
Way.
I'm 104.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Now we're probably making claims we can't back up.
No, I'm just joking.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is an astounding product, and just like anything else that's going to truly help we the people. It's not fair. This is why I know I've got tons of prayer warriors listening. I want the prayer warriors in the audience, put your focus not only on Skin Wisdom, but other products just like this, because even with LifeWave, you guys know I talk about LifeWave a lot. There are people, evil forces, just demonic attacks on things all the time to try to keep these products away from we the people, because they're natural and they're not big pharma, and it's all about money. And I'm telling you what, you guys know, I did a show last Sunday on money, because when I was little, I watched myself get sold. I have a whole other concept on money than most people. You can't take it with you. You can't take it with you. And it's all big pharma wanting money that does this thing. It's all about money, period, the end. And the things that people will do for money absolutely are appalling, and holding things that would help our health and our youth, and extend life, and just So I need prayer warriors all over
Thank you.
the natural, non-invasive healing modalities, things like Skin Wisdom and any products out there, so that we can get these to us.
Lynn, I wanted to add one thing. Because we've worked with so many cancer survivors, that we had a cancer camp here in Tampa. And so the FDA went after someone who ended up being one of our directors for our company. They took all his product. It was a hair product that made your hair grow back, whatever. And they stole it all. And so he made us pull all of our product off the market. We were in 17 states nationwide. We were in hospitals, cancer centers. Pre-FDA, we were a cosmetic. We said we're a cosmetic,
Okay.
but people were able to use the spray, and we knew what it worked with, and everybody did it, so they bought it. And so we were very successful that way, and we had to pull it all off the market because the FDA started going after everybody. And they took my friend's, all of his products, shut them down, and I went, that's not happening to me. And I still had 2,000 bottles of spray left. So I pulled it off the market until we could get FDA approved, which is why we had that push that we were going to do the FDA naively. But
Right.
anyway, I personally, the company donated to anybody that had cancer for free. If they had cancer, they just called me or wrote to me, and they got it over the next 2 years until it was all gone. And we donated to cancer camps and everywhere, because I knew that as I gave it away, that it would be helping people, and that energy would help us. I just felt it. We were working together to help people not
Yes.
be in pain.
That's
So
a beautiful story.
yeah.
So which leads me to think about, testimonies. So, I know you've got a ton of them. I mean, my own, it's just, mine is just the skincare. I mean, I absolutely love this product. A little goes a long way.
Hmm.
And it makes my skin, well, you can see the results. People can just see our faces and see the results, but it makes my skin like softer and
Yeah.
plumper and more radiant and glowing. Although part of that, I think, is the Lord Jesus Christ coming out
Of
too,
course.
just the light, you know.
I like
But
that. Yeah.
the product is astounding. And so Jen, you taught me. I just in the morning just do this, and then I'm
That's
done,
right.
you know.
I do
And
twice a day.
yeah, and I'll do it on my hands, just anywhere where I feel like I'd like a little boost or softness or glow or whatever. So that's how I use it. But I know that there are serious issues and conditions that it has helped with. So what are some testimonies that stand out?
Well, the
Sure.
Marine study. So we were friends with some Marines in Tampa Bay, and they asked if they could test our spray, and they took it when they went out to the Mojave Desert for 2 weeks with no baths, no showers. They just sprayed their feet and body, and it was not as a bath, but it was to keep the oxygen, keeping bacteria away, right?
Right.
So they came back with hugely successful. I don't even think we have the picture.
I think you had
Oh,
that bar graph, I think is the actual
oh,
study
yes,
itself.
yes, yes.
So this was like,
Oh, there you go.
yeah, like Jen
Yeah,
mentioned, it's 250 Marines that were in the Mojave Desert. Obviously, this is before they got deployed to Iraq. So they would start training in the Mojave Desert, harsh environment, dry, hot, windy, everything that you want to be difficult for your skin to survive. And we had, three different groups here. So the people in that salmon line right there applied it twice a day religiously. The blue line was once a day. And then the brown line there is kind of as they remembered to do it. And you
Mhm.
can see the people the soldiers that sprayed their body parts with it religiously, they would get 80, 85%, 50% improvements in a lack of chafing, rashes, irritation of the skin, inflammation. What it really does well in terms of testimonials is really takes down inflammation, takes away pain from. I think you have that jellyfish
Oh,
bite one. I think that's a really good
oh,
one.
that's your
oh,
buddy,
yeah.
Brad.
So so the jellyfish one is,
Is
I
the
think that's
arm?
this
Yeah.
one.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
So this individual was swimming, I think, in the Caribbean
yeah.
and somewhere, and he got bit by or stung by a jellyfish. So you can see 4 minutes after he got stung on the left there, very pronounced
Yeah.
inflammation, redness. He sprayed it, the Skin Wisdom Rescue Spray, After 12 minutes, you can see it calming down significantly. And after 70 minutes, it's almost all gone. By the next day, it was completely fat, no issues at all with the jellyfish sting. So in terms of, I don't think we have it here, but I'll share a story with my oldest son is very, I don't know if allergic, but reactive. If he gets bit by a mosquito, he gets a big welt, gets really itchy.
Yeah.
I sprayed it on him, on his calf. 20 minutes later, completely flat, the itching went away. So what we're obviously, it was originally developed for, treating cancer patients that had gone through radiation, had gotten wet dermatitis, or any sort of inflammatory issues with the skin. But we've now broadened it out. People that have gone through burns, whether it's a chemical burn, steam burn, like a thermal burn, or sunburn, works really well for sunburn. Insect bites, whether it's a mosquito or jellyfish, and then open wounds. So
And babies rash.
oh yeah,
Diaper
rashes.
Spray,
Oh.
spray.
And spray it before
All
they
the
get it.
children.
So this is where we'll tell you to do something different than Big Pharma. Do preventative care. So if you spray it and then put on diaper rash, the ointment, spray it on, then put the diaper on. And we've had great success with that, as well as bed sores as well. We're trying to go for.
We've had
So
children say, spray me, mommy. And then,
Really?
yeah, you don't have to put the ointment on, you just spray it and it'll stop it. It'll prevent the rash.
Yeah.
Oh, see, I love that. I love it whenever the little ones feel better.
Yes.
We have C. Spiker comment. I bought my first bottle of Skin Wisdom 6 months ago. My hands are very dry because of my job. I spray, then rub it all over my hands before bed. My husband even noticed how soft my hands feel now.
Great.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Yes, that's awesome. And tell her we used to have a cream, and I'm waiting for him to create
We're
a new
gonna
one.
get there. We're gonna get
But I add any aloe-based cream if I need it on top. So I put the spray on,
Yeah.
and then I just add that. But again, the spray has done it. I got a email this week from a veteran, a man who has had a lot of body damage and stuff. And he said, Jennifer, the spray, oh, I know what it was. He had cancer at the base of his tongue. And so I sent him a spray. I said, you got to use this for the radiation. He says, I'm spraying my arms, and look, and they were all chapped and there was a cut on it, disappeared within a day. He said they're soft.
Yeah.
So I got that this week from someone.
We have there was an individual that had a diabetic ulcer on his foot that was probably this big.
Yeah.
Open wound.
A woman.
For a woman for about a year and a half. It wouldn't close. Whatever treatment did. And you guys know people that are diabetic have a harder time healing wounds, especially in the extremities, because the blood flow changes.
Yeah.
3.5 months later, that wound was closed up. After a year and a half of nothing being successful, 3.5 months it took, and it was unbelievable. It's that I'll be honest, that's the image that basically got me to invest in this company. was that image, because there's a lot of upside to that.
So I have to tell Lynn a miracle around that.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah.
Okay. The woman's name was D. Blessing. Okay, beautiful name, right?
Love that.
And she gets, Bill says to her, Dr. Bill said, go home, use this spray and soak your foot with some water. We had a face and body wash with a lenacone in it. But anyway, just do that once a day. And all of a sudden it closed and she was able to go back to work and everything. And she's a nurse.
Yeah.
So she actually, we didn't get the picture afterwards. Oh, actually, this is a woman, I apologize, there were 2 feet.
Oh.
This woman had a burn from
Chemical burn.
Clorox,
Yeah,
chemical burn on her foot from Clorox. That's D.
Oh.
She's allowed us to use her name. So she had this chemical burn that never healed. And so she used the spray and it stopped the pain and everything. But anyway, many months later, my mother is living with me here in Tampa on hospice, right? And she comes to the door and she says, hi, my name's Dee Blessing. I'm here. I'm your hospice nurse for your mother. I go, Dee, do you know Dr. Bill Luria? Yeah, why? I said, take off your shoe. I need to get a picture.
Oh, Jen, you had to take off her shoes.
I said, God sent you here. And so she takes off her shoe, and that's the second picture we got with the one healed and the one that was burned, right? And then I said, my mother believes in prayer. Do you? Oh, I will. So then she started praying for her. So because this is a very special PPN show, I just love sharing those stories because our family's definitely into that.
Yes.
As you know. We all are prayer warriors.
Yes. Amen.
D. Blessing.
I love that story. I especially love the fact that you had a stranger who wasn't exactly a stranger take off her shoes to go and take a peek. That doesn't
That's
happen
right.
every day when you walk in someone's home to provide home care during
Oh,
hospice.
she
I'm
knew.
sure.
She got her foot was healed by that, and
Isn't
Dr.
that
Bill helped her. Yeah,
that's amazing. That's amazing. I have another picture that I want to put up too, and you
it's
guys
Diane the
can,
nurse. Yep.
yeah, this is just looks painful.
She is a nurse, Diane, who came in to help Dr. Bill in surgery. And she walked in the room with a face that she had precancerous, and so they were burning off a lot of it. Okay.
Yeah, they're using
Oh,
5-FU as a
Yes.
chemical, as a chemotherapeutic, really, for the skin, to get rid of the precancerous cells.
Yep, which is a common thing.
Yeah.
So she looked like that. Bill said, "Would you do me a favor, Diane? Would you just use our cream and put it on twice a day?" And it was, I don't, it doesn't say how long, but I think it was a week or two, and it was
Yeah.
totally turned around,
wow, that's
totally
amazing.
healed. Yeah,
Because that just looks painful.
it
It's
is.
painful, and you can't go in the sun. By the way, when you get that, it's like when you get a chemical peel. Also, you have to stay out of the sun. This got her. I think you're right. I think it was like 7 to 10 days,
Yeah.
where we normally take like 2 to 3 weeks, and she was out and about. She looked perfectly healed after that point.
Wow. I mean, that's, and look how beautiful her skin looks. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just
Right.
like, and how much time goes by from the first to the second picture?
I
Like
believe it was like
7 to 10 days.
7 to 10 days.
I'll have to pull it out. It's so funny. I don't remember.
That's amazing.
Of
But I
that.
mean,
Yeah.
it's not like months.
No,
You
No,
no,
know.
no.
no, no.
So
Just a few
yeah,
days. Yep.
that's incredible. So if you could, Habib, you were listing like the different types of conditions a person might
Yes.
have that this might be helpful.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
you could
Doctor.
list those again,
I mean,
because I this is all new to my audience.
Sure.
So yeah, I think they'd love to hear it again.
Sure. So the first and foremost, I think for burns, all kinds of burns, it works great. Whether it's you got burned on the stove, sunburn, we had I believe a mechanic who got a radiator steam burn on his face. They sprayed it immediately. I think within 24 hours he was back to work, which is unheard of for. I mean, people don't realize steam burns are infinitely worse than a regular thermal burn because of the way the energy transfers. So burns is number one. Insect bites or animal bites, whether it's a jellyfish, mosquitoes, wasps. My mom is allergic to bee stings and got
Yeah.
stung by a wasp, and there's a lot of cross allergies between those two. She sprayed it, and I think within a day or so, it was completely down and not. There's no more swelling at that point. And she's a 82-year-old a woman, so immune systems are different. They're a lot weaker at that point. So the fact that it works so quickly was great. So insect burn, and then we have it works to moisturize your skin, as put it on top as almost like a toner. If you want to do your normal facial routine and then apply it at the end, it works great for that. And then for big wounds, so we didn't go into it. We don't have to because the images are very graphic. But we had an individual that
my feet.
it's funny. We were at a natural food grocery store, and we were approached, and this woman, her husband had a motorcycle accident and had his heel taken off in the accident. And
Yes,
it
I
was
saw that
one,
picture.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was a very graphic accident. And I think it'd been 3 or 4 months. He'd been, it was infected, it was oozing, it was very, and there was no skin. The heel was gone. Um, and he was in a lot of pain. He couldn't put any pressure
Oh,
on it. Nothing was working. It was really a difficult situation. We gave her 2 bottles of spray, and she's been spraying religiously. She takes pictures every day. And when I tell you, by the fourth day, the infection was gone. And
day?
the heel, yeah, fourth day, it was incredible. The heel is still missing a lot of skin, but it's not red. It looks like normally, like as normal as that's going to look. It didn't have any sort of swelling or inflammation. It was incredible to the point where like I had to double check with her that, and she's like, here, she sent me day 1, day 2, day 3, and day 4. And I was like, all right, because it was a remarkable, and that goes along with kind of diabetic ulcers, any sort of wound. I mean, if I cut myself, I spray myself with it, just because it helps. It helps. It makes the environment, at the very least, it makes the environment for healing, so your body can heal itself more positive. And that's where I think a lot of this plays it. So anything with inflammation, the indications I gave you. Dry skin also is great because there's a lot of aloe vera in there for moisturizing.
I keep a bottle on my stove And believe me, we all run to it because I burn myself
Oh,
still,
it
I'm
burns.
cooking a bottle
Yes.
on the stove,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
it occurred to me that, we say we use it twice a day. The reason is, and I learned this from Dr. Bill, but our skin sloughs off naturally every 8 to 10 to 12 hours. It just sloughs off. That's what your dust is,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so you have to respray it on. But when we first invented this, and we still done it, we used to spray it on our window and it never came off because it'll stay on something forever. But if your skin sloughs off, it's not there anymore. So that's why you spray it twice a day.
Huh.
Yes.
So can you explain? I mean, I'm just amazed. I knew I love the product. I wasn't aware of because I haven't tried it on wounds or burns or anything like that.
Mhm.
So can you help me understand how does it work? Because like when
Sure.
you say, I saw the heel picture and I won't put
Yeah.
it up. I was going
It's
to
very
and just give a graphic warning because I mean, folks, it's like really, really awful
graphic.
looking. And
Yeah.
when you told me 4 days, I mean, I didn't know that when I saw the
Yeah.
picture. So how can you help us understand?
Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So a wound heals better when oxygen and CO2 can go back and forth through the wound itself. So CO2 comes out, oxygen gets in. Actually, bacteria doesn't like oxygen. It seems to oxidize and it kills a lot of the bacteria. What Skin Wisdom does is when you spray it, it forms a barrier across the wound or across the skin, wherever the injury is. That injury, I mean that barrier basically protects the wound, but it's not an occlulant, what we call like where you put petroleum jelly on, right? And it clogs your pores. It gives you like a barrier, but nothing, it's not breathable, right? And
Right.
if your body can't breathe, whether obviously through your lungs, but your wounds need to breathe also. That's why they tell you to change dressings, make sure it's clean, all that stuff. This is almost like a natural chemical barrier that forms across the wound and allows the oxygen and CO2 to go through. It spreads the water out, so no bacteria, no fouling happens, which helps your body. So instead of fighting the bacteria, your body can put its energy towards healing the wound itself, right?
Oh,
So
yes.
that's part of it there. And then whatever, if you use anything else prior to, if you're using like a antiseptic or anything like that, it keeps all that in contact with the wound longer so that it can do its job more efficiently.
Well, that makes sense because ever since I started with LifeWave, I've been learning about energy, and the body has so much energy to focus on healing. And so it makes sense if all of the bacteria and problems aren't attacking the body to fight with, it can
Right.
actually go straight to the recovery stage.
Absolutely. It's like instead of finding a war on 2, 3 fronts, you're only going to fight it on one front.
Exactly. Exactly. Oh, I'm amazed. I am, I think of another story. So, Jim, we were on another show, I think this week, where there was a woman on there who'd had mold, severe issues with mold.
Mhm.
And and she didn't give any details because the
Anita.
show wasn't about wisdom.
Mm.
But she was just praising this product. So how did that help her?
I have to ask her because I was surprised when she brought it up too, and we're
Oh,
not
okay.
allowed to talk about you. So, but I
Right.
know it's helped her a lot, and
Yeah.
she loves it.
Sorry,
So
just interrupt. She's not allowed to talk about it because we're worried about the FDA coming back and saying you said something you're not supposed to say. So that actually goes back to the old FDA issue. If you want to go full circle back around to the beginning
Yes.
of this podcast, is that they will come after you for making claims that
yeah,
they think.
medical and everything
Yeah,
else.
so so Jennifer's being smart and being careful with her words right
Well,
now.
LifeWave too. I mean, you're not allowed to talk
Yeah.
about the two together at
Yeah.
all. But and you have, but just it's your show. And we're both involved. And so is
Yeah.
he. He's a LifeWaver. But I will find out and I will report to Habib and you and everybody Anita's thoughts on that. That just happened yesterday and she was very
Yeah.
complimentary about it. So it's actually Monday. I've been away for a couple days, but yeah,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
was what it
Yeah.
was. Yeah.
Yesterday was Monday. So we live
Oh, it
lifetime.
was? Okay, then it was. It was
I was
last
just
night.
telling someone earlier today, I live a lifetime every day, and it's amazing compared to what it used to be like. This is exciting how my life is now. But yes, yesterday was Monday, believe it
Monday
or not.
night. So my daughter had surgery yesterday on her heel and I sprayed
Oh,
it. We're spraying it and we're using something else
Sure.
on it too. So yeah,
yeah.
the patches. But yeah, so it was last night. I was doing the show while I was taking care of my daughter. Oh,
So,
yes,
tell us about the because you guys provided a BOGO coupon, and so tell us
Sure.
about that
yes.
side of
Right.
things.
Yeah, so up through the end of the month, we're running a BOGO where I think it's Lynn BOGO. You'll see there at the bottom of the
Yep.
screen there across there. So it's buy one get one free, obviously. Through the end of the month, I want to make sure everyone knows that if you're gonna, and you don't put one in the quantity, put two, and the BOGO will subtract the other one out. So if you put two, I mean, if you put two, you'll get buy one get one free. You put four, you'll pay for two, you'll get four and go for that. Then that was I want to make sure it's clear because we had an issue with that in the past. So don't just put one, put two, and we'll subtract it out. And if there's any issues at all, obviously contact us on the email on the website, which is shop.skinwisdom.com. And I answer all those emails myself personally. So any questions you guys have,
He does.
anything about what it
Oh,
can be
that's
used
wonderful.
for or the coupon, I'm happy to answer any of those questions. And it's free shipping, by the way. So it is the cost of the product. That's it.
And also, Habib explained to me, we have a wonderful company in Tampa that ships all of our product out, and they work with some people that are very special in Tampa, and they're closing the doors Wednesday through Sunday for Thanksgiving. But anybody that orders all the way through Sunday, you'll still get the BOGO. I
Yeah.
mean, it's until December 1st,
Right.
through November. So you'll still get it. It just won't be shipped out as
Until
fast as
Monday,
it
yes.
usually is. That's all.
Well, and I love it, Habib, that you were I think that's very important to know
Yeah.
that you were the one personally answering the emails on the
Oh, yeah.
website.
Oh, yeah.
Because I know that this is a new product, I do believe, to the vast majority of my audience that's listening now. And I'm sure they do have questions, probably specific
Sure.
questions for themselves or their loved ones. So I think that that's great. And of course, if you don't have any questions, just jump on and order. I'm going to do it. As a matter of fact, in my mind, I'm sitting here thinking I'm going to get at least four because because I use this regularly, and now that I know, I'll be fixing food. It's not uncommon to maybe
Yeah,
cut
to
my
get burnt.
finger. Or the other thing I'm planning on using it for in the winter, and this happens to my personal trainer too, but for whatever reason, around my cuticles and my
Hmm.
fingers, they just cut open because of
Yeah.
they're so dry from the heat.
Yes.
So I'm gonna, and it hurts. I mean, it's amazing
Hurts.
how
Yeah.
bad that hurts. I'm just gonna spray. I never thought to spray this on.
Yes.
Yeah. And that goes towards the marine study where they were using it prophylactically. So before they got any wounds, they would spray themselves on there and it reduced the amount of friction and rashes and sort of things of that sort. So
So I can do this just as my see, because I do the
Mhm.
face, I don't do my hands. So I can just do
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
twice a day on my hands and not even get it
Oh,
in the,
yeah.
Oh
that's
yeah.
what I would like. Because that stuff
Sure.
is it's like paper cuts. It's
Yeah.
amazing how painful those little things
I'm
are.
gonna ask.
Yeah.
Um, when we were we sold in all natural health food stores along with the salons throughout the
Oh,
US years ago. And
yeah.
we had a whole bunch of people and truckers in Colorado that bought our product because we had a cream with the alenacone and they put it on their lips. We did not have what Habib has just invented,
Yeah.
which he will share, but
Yeah.
they would put it on their lips and they were ordering constantly from us, the truckers, for their lips
Yeah.
because they get chapped. So
So we're in this is breaking news.
it
It's,
is.
it's
I
is
love breaking
brand
news on the
new.
show.
We haven't gone into production yet, but we're in the final stages of testing a chapstick. It's not going to look like this, but just this is our test. These are the prototypes. It has the alanacone in it. And when I tell you the people that have tested this, and we will for sure come back and give a special to your audience once we get it launched. But people that have tested it are saying it's lasted longer than any chapstick they've ever had. And my oldest son, again, gets chapped lips really bad. I put it on and within a few minutes, his lips look normal and they stay on for at least 8 hours, 12 hours. It was, we don't have the exact numbers yet because we're still in testing, but the results have been great. And I look forward to bringing that to your listeners as soon as we're ready to go into production.
Well, and I look forward to getting some free samples
Yeah,
because
absolutely, absolutely,
because
absolutely.
before the show started, you guys told me about this. So I'm going to tell you folks. So I have it's a genetic thing. My dad had
Yes.
it, but I have to wear chapstick 24/7. And if I don't have
I didn't
chapstick
know
on,
that.
I feel like I'm going to lose my mind, absolutely lose my mind. And I was telling my dad about it one time because we were reunited later in life, and I found out I was loved. That's part of my story. And we got to, and this was a God thing again. My dad connected with me when I was older, and I hadn't heard from him since I was little. My folks divorced, and I prayed about it. I'm like, God, this is like a stranger. And he gave me that scripture, honor your father and mother. And he said, and Lynn, it doesn't say unless your parents were divorced when you were little. So and so I met him. And so we had this beautiful relationship for many, many years before he passed. Well, in getting to know him, one day he starts talking about his lips. And this is what he said. So he's a veteran, and God bless all of our veterans listening, and thank you for your service. So he was a veteran, and he told me this story. So I would watch him do the chapstick thing all the time, just like me. And so I was asking him about it. And, it's such a blessing to know why you do what you do, to be able to get some family involved. And so I thought, oh my goodness, that looks like me. So he said when he was in the Army, they had this training, and they all had to go someplace for 3 weeks to train. He forgot his chapstick. So for 3 weeks, he couldn't use it.
Oof.
He said when that was done, his lips were swollen like balloons, and he had to be in the hospital for weeks.
Wow.
Because and there's a name for this. I remember I researched it once, and I can't remember because it's really long and unpronounceable. But so I personally, I am very, very excited to try this because it's a problem, and I don't think I'm the only one. I think things happen for a reason. I'm sure there are people listening that are the same. But for now, it sounds like I can use my skin wisdom spray.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
You can
Oh
definitely.
yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
See, that
there you go.
didn't cross
And
my
you know
mind.
what I'd say is put on the normal chopstick until you get the one that I send you, and then
Okay.
spray the skin wisdom on top of it, and that will
Really?
keep
I
it.
put it on first.
No, I want
because
to form
it's
the seal on top of
on top of it. It'll
Yeah,
seal it.
yeah. It'll
Okay.
He knows.
try it both
He's
ways,
a
but I think
doctor.
I usually put it on after I put the stuff if I use a cream or anything.
Wow. Try it both ways.
But this solves
I
both.
wanna know.
This solves both those problems. So we'll get that to you soon.
So that reminds me of the diaper rash. I want to go back to
Yes.
that because we talked about that really quick, and I know I've got moms in the audience listening now. So what was it you said?
So
Like yeah.
I have a brand new grandchild 2 days ago. So baby and Dr. Bill's son and my stepson, Isaac, and his wonderful wife, Elizabeth, have this gorgeous baby. And I know that baby's going to be brought up on the spray because every one of them, all the 12 grandkids have been. They've all been sprayed. So what happens? Kids get a rash. They do. I mean, I had 4 daughters. It's tough. But our grandchildren have said, Mommy, spray me. And they'll just lay there, because it takes away any of the rash and the pain.
Wow.
I will say this. I was one of the main caretakers of my father before he passed, and he passed at 101 years old.
Isn't that
And
amazing?
at the end, he he had a diaper on at the end, and we had to change it, and he would get rash, and I would spray it, and that solved that whole problem. And I would say it'll treat the diaper rash, but if you use it before the rash ever starts, we saw a significant reduction in the incidences of rashes even starting. Almost like we talked about in the Marine study, where it was prophylactic. It was before it actually created. So I would suggest spray it, put on your baby powder if anyone still uses that. It's been a while since I've had kids.
No, because baby powder's bad.
So just put the spray on, and whatever else you're going to do, put the diaper, and I almost will guarantee that you have phenomenal results with that.
So let me ask you this. So as a marathoner, I am outside a lot running, and I stopped wearing suntan lotion a long time ago since the majority of it contains cancer-causing agents. And so with sunburns, if you're out for a few hours. So with the skin wisdom, if I'm understanding correctly, I can spray that on whatever's going to be exposed to the sun beforehand. You know what? I see when I see people with their little ones, so the parents are trying to do the right thing, and they'll get those suntan lotion sprays, and I'll say that now. And I just want to say, oh, please, no,
Stop. Yeah.
stop, because there's stuff in there. We have been lied to about everything. Stop and question everything. So instead of that, which is very damaging, it's a lot of cancer-causing agents in those things. So we can all take skin wisdom, spray beforehand, including our little ones, and just prevent it.
So I can't make a claim to SPF, but because the FDA again is, but I will say we have a board member who's very fair and a big runner as well. And he swears by it. He sprays it on everywhere before he goes out. And
Okay.
he has said that it has reduced the amount of off the times he's had sunburn, and it's minimized it if he's ever had it. It's again, I think it's what it's doing is it's really treating the inflammation before it actually becomes the sunburn itself. That's just a thought of how I think it's working, but it is the case. I will also say that I 100% agree with you in terms of the chemical sunscreens, and it's going to be a little while because of the process, but we do have a mineral sunscreen that's in development as well.
Oh,
All
Yeah,
natural.
all natural, all reef safe. It doesn't
I'm
affect your endocrine system. It doesn't affect your cancer. It doesn't do anything of that sort. It's minerals. But in order to make the SPF claims, you have to go through pretty rigorous testing with the FDA. And not as much as a new drug, but you have to prove that it does have SPF 50, SPF 30, whatever the number ends up coming. So it's in development, but it'll be a little way off.
And I have a story, a burn
Go.
story. Can I do
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
South Beach story?
Absolutely.
Okay. So my oldest daughter works for Disney, and she was supposed to be in a fashion show that they were having at Disney. And she this is years ago, she went to South Beach with all of her friends and fell asleep on the beach. 4 hours later, she woke up,
Oh no.
totally burned to a crisp. And the
Oh,
fashion show was the next day. Mom, what am I gonna do? Oh my God, I'm so burned. I can't, I'm too sick to be in the show. I'm blah, blah, blah. And I went, I cannot. Now, my kids have invested in the company with their own money. They have. I said, I cannot believe you're an investor in Skin Wisdom and you're not spraying yourself. And she goes, oh my God, I forgot. She sprayed herself and it turned into a tan within an hour. And she went home from South Beach to Orlando and was in the show the next day with a nice tan. Red
that's why we
Lobster
recommend severe
to
burns to get
tan.
a nice
Yeah.
tan. But that's a good story.
I will say
Wow.
that we also had my
Yeah.
girlfriend is very fair skinned as well and blonde, and she got burnt, and we sprayed her twice after she got burnt, and within 10 to 12 hours, it would be the next day, the burn was completely gone, and it was no pain or anything like that.
No
So it
peeling
works
and
really
nothing.
great. No
anything.
peeling. That's the big part. Yeah, no peeling. So
I mean, that's just I'm loving this more and more. I personally had no idea the depth of possibilities that I could use it for. I remember I think about my dad before he passed. He would get like his heels would get so dry they would
Mhm.
just
Mhm.
crack open, and I
yeah.
don't even know what that was about. But it seems to be for elderly people that is an issue. I'm not
Was
sure.
he diabetic?
No. Mm-mm.
Because that happens a lot with diabetic patients as well, because the circulatory system, the vasculature down there doesn't bring nutrients as quickly down there as it does to the rest of the body. So you start getting that buildup of
Well,
callus.
I don't think so. If he was, he'd be undiagnosed.
Yeah.
So, but I can just sit here and think if I'd have known then, personally, I would have sprayed that there and then had him use it as a prevention. I'm going to do that for my hands,
Yeah.
and for my personal trainer too, because we always love to share anything that's going to help us. Just girl talk, right?
Yeah.
Girl talk. Yeah, so I love this. So this has been one of the most informative shows that I've had for a while when it comes to healthcare. And so we have C. Spiker in the audience. Okay, so she's uh, clapping and praying for the chapstick thing. So
Yeah,
she
it's
needs
coming.
it
It's
too.
coming.
She needs it too. Yeah, yeah. And I think we have JJR, U.S. Navy Gulf War. I did not know you were a veteran. God bless you.
God
Thank you for
bless.
your service. That's amazing. I love that. I love it when veterans join the show. So
Lynn, it's
yeah,
our dream. It's our dream, my dream. I'm sure the teams that it goes in the backpack of every military person going overseas or out to the deserts, whatever, and also to every nursing home, that it is in every nursing home in a cream form or whatever that can be smoothed on the different areas or sprayed on. And Bill used to work at the nursing homes. He covered their wound care. So we've got those dreams. So the veterans were very hopeful.
Yeah.
amen. Well, I would ask, please, the prayer warriors listening to add that to the list because I am learning ever since God gave me the mission to find the natural healing modalities. And now that I have the voice and the ability to share with everyone listening, there's so many ways that we can help humanity. We don't have to suffer like we have been suffering. We don't have to be in pain like we have been in pain. You know, we have so many people that God's tapped on the shoulder with these inventions, and we need to get those out. So I'm so grateful to both of you. Before we close off, what else is there? Anything else you'd like to share, or final thoughts you have for folks? And of course, we want to hear about
CEO. He
the
should.
BOGOs and
Well,
stuff.
listen, I'll say this. I think it's a phenomenal product that I believed in. I invested in the company before I even got involved with the board or running it stuff for years. It just happened, like you said, God works in his way, and it became time where I had the opportunity to step in as CEO and take my experience and put it into the development of this drug to get it out there. We have a long list of products that we hope to get out over the next year. The chapstick being the first, and then we have some other anti-aging serums, stuff like that.
Yeah, you didn't even say the anti-aging
Well,
serum.
it's still early, but we're gonna get there, and I think the Q1 of next year is gonna be a really exciting year for us. So again, it's Lynn BOGO, buy one get one free. Shop.skinwisdom.com, and we thank you guys all for your support, and let us know your feedback. We love to hear success stories and stuff like that, so we really know where it's working.
And they can send you questions and feedback at the website. And I have the website scrolling through. We do have a radio audience, by the way, too. So whenever you hear the word Lynn, it's spelled Lynnne. But Habib, what's the website again that people can ask you questions or give you testimonies?
Sure. If you go to shop.skinwisdom.com, and you just go to contact us, it'll take you right to where you can put it in. They'll send me an email directly.
Okay, awesome. And then you've got the BOGO code, BOGO Lynn, that's effective until when?
To the end of the month, and it's Lynn, Lynnne, BOGO, BOGO, no spaces. And again, don't forget to put the quantity as 2, and one will get subtracted.
And then moving forward, you guys have given me a coupon code too, Lynn, Lynnne 2025.
Yes, and that'll give you 25% off your
in the
order.
next month.
But you want to use the BOGO one this month. That's the better deal.
Right.
And then after that, you'll have the Lynn 2025. And again, for all of those, you're going to get free shipping. So it's just the cost of free shipping domestically. Internationally, we have a small charge for that. But
yeah. Well, I'm so grateful for these value savings. And I can tell everybody it's worth every penny from my own experience. And the next time I have you guys back, I'm going to have more testimonies from my own self. From all these other new areas. I'm going to keep one by the stove.
Yep.
When I go outside to work in the garden, I'm taking one with me because of my gardening, I have brought bees to the neighborhood. I have a bee specialist. He says they're Italian bees. So I said, here in the Ozarks in Missouri, I have made us cosmopolitan because we now have Italian bees.
That's right.
I just had a thought, Lynn. Anybody with shingles, my mother-in-law had shingles, and she said that the only time she could start wearing clothes again was when she sprayed her stomach, because she had it across her stomach, and it stopped the pain. So, and again, that's a claim, but I'm just saying it did happen to my mother-in-law.
Yeah.
And so we've helped a lot of people with shingles. That's
amazing. I know that's a horrific. I think they're saying maybe 1 in 5 now are getting that or something.
It's a virus.
That's a big one.
It's very high. And we all know it's painful. I mean, you see the pictures on TV, and it's like, how can I help someone? So that's good to know too. I'm super excited. We'll be back again, and I'll have you guys back. We'll have more testimonies and more information and more reveals. I've loved also what you've shared about universities, things happening, the FDA. I mean, we the people need to know.
Absolutely. Yeah, a lot of that stuff's buried. I'm glad I had the opportunity to tell you guys about it, and let's see where we get. Let's make a difference.
Amen. So until next time, folks, this is the Lynn Scott Hagerman Show, where truth is rising, and so are we. Praise God.
Breaks the shadow of the weary heart. Truth cuts the dark like a flaming dart.